Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
She always has very interesting insight on so many different things. She is a healer. She's a psychic medium. She's a tarot card reader. And she's also a heyoka, which translates to a storyteller. Some would, some would say heyoka also means crazy. She said that once. I didn't. And she is she's Janis Reed, and she's back with us. Janis, welcome. How are you?
Hey, I've been heyoking around. I'm doing pretty good today. I'm in my safe zone here with you today. The rest of today is going to go crazy. I've got to go get hay loaded up in the flatbed, hoping I can start the flatbed. Last time I tried, I had to change the battery. And, I'm 4 foot tall and the hood of the truck is 4 feet tall.
It's funny you should say that. You are a psychic medium, because I'm not even kidding you when I tell you I have a 21-year-old Jeep, and it's my fun vehicle. I love the thing. It's rusting away, it's falling apart, and it needs a battery. And I was just going to get one yesterday, but I got busy. So that maybe later today, that's what I'm going to be doing. Same thing you.
Depending on how tall you are and how muddy the ground is, you might want to, make plans for not being tall enough. I had to hire some guy, cost me a daffodil. Neighbor came over and lifted the hood for me.
On those old vehicles, the hoods are heavy. I have to agree with you.
And we've given up repairing the passenger's door, because every time we fix it, that's the next thing we do is bash it in. So it goes around. It's the best car. It's a pickup truck for sure. You have to keep picking up stuff for it.
I get that. And my Jeep, the biggest, well, aside from some mechanical issues, we won't even go there. The biggest issue was the roof rusted out so much, and I didn't realize it because it was sitting dormant for while I moved. Blah blah blah. I had 3 major holes in the roof, and just water was flowing in. So I had my friend cut the roof, weld a plate in there. Then he had to seal it. So I think we're good. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably works better than the umbrellas I would have just, chunked down and covered the roof with.
Yeah, or a very large bird bath is what I have. Just roll the windows down.
Something like that.
So what else is on your mind today?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people, and I've missed you, Steve. But I wanted to just bring about some little bits and pieces I've drawn around the last, half a year or so, and really talk about what heyoka is. It really does translate to crazy person. That's like the literal translation. It means I have been touched by God. I've had an extraordinary experience that rewired, recombobulated my thought patterns, the way I see information. I was literally chosen by the hand of God to do this. I didn't look for it. I would not have looked for it had I realized what it would do to my life. The thing that I've not really revealed, I've been waiting to talk to you about it, is that I'm a troublemaker. That's what I do. That's my gig. I am a holy and celestial troublemaker. I can help you find out who the fox is in your hen house. I can help you discover the one thing that you're overlooking in a perfect plan. I can help you understand how best to use all that wonderful information just laying at your fingertips that you don't realize is available for you to use. I'm the piece that people overlook when they put the puzzle together. I'm the ass end of it. Kind of
the back end.
My biggest gift is embarrassing myself, telling stories on myself, experiencing stories, so that I might best be able to notice and offer to bring change to other people who are sliding along the same foolish ledge.
Now, can I ask a question?
Please do.
Don't mean to interrupt, but we're at this point. When you help people or expose things for people, the proverbial wrench in the engine, if you will. What
That's me, a
information
monkey wrench.
what information do you need to figure that all out for somebody?
I need them to ask me to do it for them. That's
Okay.
all I require. I like getting some money on the side. I like to charge, $100 or so. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to start doing, if you call in or if you write to me tomorrow, March 21st, no matter where you are, March 21st in the world, and make an appointment with me for any time. You don't have to do it for tomorrow because I'll be busy. Make it ahead. Pay for it tomorrow. I'll give you an hour for $100, and it's
Hmm.
good for until you get around to using it. So you don't have to use it right away. Um, that's just a little something kicking the shoes
Yeah.
to
So
throw my
basically,
name out there, make me a little
make
bit more accessible.
just make that appointment and
Yeah.
get some clarity on stuff that's going on in your life. It sounds like.
Yeah, I seem pretty crazy a lot, and I seem like I have ADHD or one of those letter things. Um, the doctors have been urgently trying to figure out which set of letters, but it turns out it's a hey, yoka. That's me. I make trouble for myself. Maybe that other people could see my situation and go, oh man, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this instead. And it changes their world. Sometimes I don't know this has happened until 15, 20 years later. Somebody gets around to meeting me again or finding my address, or it comes to my, and they send me a note. They go, hey, guess what you did for me? Hey, I'm so tickled.
Hmm.
I think part of why I was chosen, for no lack of a better term, I'm real accepting of God. I believed the stories in the Bible about ask and you shall receive. I literally have that as my job description now. Ask me, you shall receive. I know it sounds corny. It sounds almost blasphemous. But this is the thing that God hath made me Heyoka, to help root out the poisons, to help dig up the hidden nasty stuff, so that things can function as they should and not in the shadows. I am a bane to people who would hide in the shadows. Likely at a party, that's the very person I'll walk up to and mouth off to without realizing who it was. I did that to a Lama one time who had visiting from Tibet, and he was just had to have been overwhelmed with the situation. And I accidentally backed into him because the crowd was pushing me backwards. I didn't realize they were crushing to the man behind me. So we plowed into each other backwards, and I turned around, I looked this man straight in the face, and he blessed me, and I blessed him back, and that shook him up. Later, I found out who I had blessed. Uh,
Hmm.
weird. That's a weird Heyoka thing.
See, I
I
always
went,
thought Heyoka was also another term for a storyteller. Is it?
well, I don't know how else to explain things save through stories.
Hmm.
Stories are how human beings communicate. I've been accused of, and okay, I went to psychic school. Yes, if you want me to work as a psychic, I'm pretty darn nifty good at that too. If you want me to help you heal something in your life or your physicality, if it is God's will, yes, ask, ye shall receive. Again, that seems so sacrilegious to me to say that out loud, so blasphemous, but it's what I do.
I'm a firm believer in that. And I'm not talking about religion here at all. I believe if you need clarity, an answer, whatever it might be, ask the universe.
Mhm.
I don't
You just,
overuse it, but when needed, you get to that point where it's like, I need an answer, whatever it might be.
who are you going to call?
Well, I just call whoever,
Mhm.
but I throw it out there, and usually I get an answer. So I'm
Mhm.
actually going to say to you, I'm transparent here. If you got something on me, I've things marinating my head. I need to figure out, even as an example, feel free to share anything you might have.
We'll get around to that. Yes, we were in the lawyer's office the other day, and my husband wanted me to do it on the spot for the lawyer, who was looking at me somewhat like a Pentecostal might look at me. I, it's God's will.
I agree.
Sometimes I do it on the spot, and sometimes it takes me 3 days to compose it, to make it where I can verbalize the story of the information. See, when
Oh,
somebody asks me for help, I ask what God would let me share. I ask that I do no harm, and I ask that I be of good service to that person at that moment. When I do that, I set up, I guess, a holy cone around me, and I begin to see information in the world around me, in the cards I might lay, in the people I might talk to. And I understand that I hear little picks of information that I know pertain to the person who's asked for help. I can't tell you why I know that some is and some isn't, but I feel and this story gels around me because I'm in a state of asking for help, asking for understanding, that I might be understood and be of good service to this person. The Pentecostal asked how many times I was right. He's still chewing. I'm batting pretty much 100% here so far, regardless of what I'm asked. If it's asked in earnest, if it's truly been something you've been trying to figure out on your own, if you've given it really seriously your best shot and you still can't figure it out, ask. Hey,
mm,
hey, but be ready to hear the answer. That's how I'm a troublemaker, because so many people make well-laid plans and it still goes asunder, and they ask me, and then what happened? And I said, well, you know that one piece of paper you threw out and didn't sign? That probably mattered. How did you know about the paper? And then suddenly it's my fault that their world is falling apart, and they get upset with me.
well, as I've learned, you are brutally honest, and you're going to deliver what needs to get delivered. That's it.
Girl Scouts honor.
That's
is that
that's
is that is that still a gang term? Girl Scouts honor.
I haven't heard it in a while, but okay. Yeah, why not? Yeah. And
Yeah.
that makes you you. That's the way it is. I wonder, with your husband, now he's been exposed to all of this for quite some time. What does he say to you? What is his thoughts? It's like, oh, she's got another one, she's got another thought for somebody. Here we go again. How does that go?
It's been really hard for him. And it's only been since he's really been diagnosed with dementia, and we've just started to go with that he's been able to open up his mind enough to consider some of the stuff is real. My husband is a research psychologist, was. He likes to work out the scientific details on how to do a thing. He is literally the father of the modern dream work movement. His work began in the late 60s, early 70s with the Sundance Community Dream Journal. His mind has always been to study the phenomena, but not really experience it until he married me. Apparently, I've blown his mind. But
Hmm.
as his mind expands, it's also allowing him to see more information as something worthy, something that's appropriate. So he's learning how to put information together in new ways, and he's beginning to understand what really happens, as opposed to his sincere belief on how he thinks it happens. It's it's one thing to study a thing forever and even teach it, but unless you've personally swallowed the blue pill, and experienced a thing from the inside to look out, it's always going to be a little iffy. That's how people step away from their churches. They don't really see their prayers being answered. And so they step away from the one place that they might be answered. They don't get their prayers answered because they haven't really done the homework. They haven't worked through the heart. They haven't done their end of the business yet. We have free will. We need to utilize it. We need to do our best before we ask for help. It's just, that's for me. Until you learn how to do a thing, sometimes you have to keep asking until you figure it out. It takes me a million tries, but once I know a thing, I'll do it, forever and ever with my eyes closed in the dark. But it takes me a while for it to get in. So, but once you have to try to understand things on your own, ask questions, welcome help, be sincere, expect sincerity, authenticity. You get back what you put out. We are reflections of each other, and each of us are reflections of the Godhead, the great goddess who built and made us all. When we look at each other as our sames, our sames, you and I are the same. Okay, I may be a little bit more in touch with some things, but you clearly know more about Jeeps than I do. So we all have our burdens to bear.
Actually,
I can't bake very well, but
I don't know how much more, and that's why I defer to my best friend's nephew, because he's had 8 of the same exact Jeep. So
oh man.
it was a win. He
See if
charges
he
me
wants to
for it,
work
but
on a 350 Ford.
he probably could fix it. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
he's pretty amazing like that. But how do you get answers? What is it like for you? Like if somebody has a situation marinating in their brain, thinking about an answer, when you provide them with some insight, what is it like? What do you hear? What do you feel in order to tell them?
I like that question because you said it where I can actually verbalize and answer. For me, it's as if I am shooping through a long black tube. Just shoo, shoo, shoo. And along the way, there are these beautiful lights that flash out little information bits. Look at me, look at me. Did I tell you this? Did you understand that? Bing, bing, bing. And even though I'm walking through the grocery store or walking up to the barn, I feel as if I'm in a tunnel, a tube, a shoop tube, like a hula hoop, the inside shooping around, picking up little bits of information. When I finally get to where I can talk to the person, I'm generally so full of shoop, you can't even slow me down. And it erupts, and people are usually pretty shocked at the detail and depth of information that I've whipped up, so to say. But for me, it's like inside a hula hoop, but it's more like an old slide on the playground. It just keeps going and going.
Yeah.
Quantum somethings.
No, it's almost the visual I have there is like a water park where they have these
Yes.
tubes that go and there's water flowing through them and you're
Mm-hmm.
shooting through it. And sometimes you see some daylight, depending on the seams of it. Um, do you
That's a
feel
good analogy.
that's what I'm seeing? And some of
Mm-hmm.
them are dark to add to, the excitement of the ride.
Oh, yeah.
Do
You have to
you
have some of everything.
do you
The
feel
smells come in, the sounds, the
hmm,
textures, a little bit of everything. Information just, I don't know, maybe like I'm riding through the inside of a rain stick.
do you
It's
feel
it's
that you
fun. It tickles.
you have do you get to the end of this, said tube, and that's where you have an answer, or is it halfway through? It's just you got to get the answer out.
Whenever I talk to the person, because we make a prearranged appointment, I need a little time to have this little fun thing go on with me. By the time the appointment comes, I just start talking from wherever I am in the story. And then when they've got their answer, I don't look anymore. I try to crawl out of there as best as I can. It can wear on me, looking at somebody else's business for a while. Um, did that answer that right? Did I say that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's is it a situation where, Janice, you feel that you've got something and you don't care. You're given the information. It's like
That's what they paid for.
like a
That's what people pay for. Yep.
like a pot on a stove with a cover, and now it's boiling, and the answer's got to come out. The information's got to come out. Yeah.
When we call and talk to each other, I'm gonna take the lid off, and the steam will hit you in the face, and you will smell it.
Mm. Well, well, like you're saying, sometimes it's not the information that you want to get, but you're getting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like the last resort because you might not like hearing what I say, but it will be earnest and for your best benefit.
Mm.
I'm not a mean person. I hesitate to say some things that I do because I can be offended. I can offend people, apparently. It is my job, but I'm a little person, I don't really like being smacked around much. So I've had my share of that.
Mm.
People abusing me physically because they didn't like what I said. People can become very attached to their disillusionments.
Would you say that you're just the messenger?
I am. I
Mm.
am. And stuff comes out, and sometimes mostly I'm surprised. Sometimes I hear it just fast enough before it comes out that I know it's coming. But mostly I hear the story for the very first time, same time as my client does.
Oh, that's
I'm
interesting.
still I'm still in the middle of the movie. I can't give you a synopsis because I'm still watching the movie. But when the phone call comes, we talk, I close my eyes. I'm not looking at my client. I can just tell them the synopsis from whatever it was. A lot of times it's different stories that are important. One of the ways I know they are important is because they'll come in different flavors. They'll repeat themselves to me in different ways so that it's clearly something important. I'll smell something that makes me think of it. I'll hear the birds say something, in the air, something. I'll feel something, or somebody will say something to me, and the same story scenario will repeat itself. And because I'm in this space of looking for information for someone particular, those repetitive stories tend to stand out.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I base a synopsis on.
Is it almost as if it's like there's a football game going on and you're doing the play by play and you don't know how the game's going to end, but you're in the middle of the game and you're giving out the information about what's happening during the game when you get that call from somebody? You just this I got to tell you what's going on right here. You don't know where it's going to end, what's going to happen over here, but you're in the moment of the game.
Oh, you know who I am. You do. It's a lot like that. I'm now going to laugh at myself trying to imagine me as Howard Cosell. A lot of
Speaking
people
of
won't know him.
sports, this
Speaking
is
of
Howard
your
Cosell.
future, let me tell you how it's going to go, folks.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Please do.
It's a Howard Cosell story. My first job in radio, 17, big job. Got a job. This is fantastic. And every day at 5:25, we'd play Howard Cosell and his sports updates. Speaking of sports,
Mm-hmm.
and there would be probably, I would say, 4 times a month when he was doing his sports report, the station would go off the air. And I'm sitting there, 17. This is, big job, finally hit one. Um, and I would have to run from one room to the other one to try and figure out how to turn the transmitter back on. And I'm a wreck. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, this can't be happening. After a couple of months, it was figured out why the station was going off the air during Howard Cosell's report. You know what it was?
They were listening to Howard.
It was him doing his report from his apartment in New York City, and his dog would bark, and the frequency of the dog's voice bark would somehow trip the transmitter and take us off the air.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
You can't make that up. I was like,
That no, 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 no. New York is its own country with its own citizens. These are
yeah.
great.
But nobody, the engineers couldn't figure it out until one time one was listening and heard as Howard's talking, burp, 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 and we went off and was like, oh, wait, there's a connection here. Yeah.
I do some healing that way. I use sound in my healing sometimes. Certain tones.
Ah,
Um,
you
yeah, I
know
like
what?
that.
that
Mhm.
actually backs up the fact, what you're just saying, how sound vibrations, this being the dog, because all sound is a vibration, had an impact on something because sound has an impact on us. Sound bowls,
Mhm.
sound healing, the sound of somebody's
Mhm.
voice, whatever it might be, really does make a
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah, when I was a little girl, we used to have dial telephones, and then this great thing came out with the push buttons. And some very clever young people learned that if you whistled into the telephone, it would think you were the dial tone, the machinery instead, so that people were making free calls until Ma Bell figured out how to stop
Oh,
that. All
oh,
you had to do was pick it up. Instead of putting a dime in, you just whistle the right tune and it would give you your number.
hmm. Interesting.
Tones.
I
Mhm.
wish I knew that back then.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
So
But
we're,
now a lot of healers use crystals and
yep.
like crystal for radios. We
Uh,
use transmitters, things
mm,
that help us. People think they're magical tools. The thing is magic if you don't understand the science. So I'm highly magical. Hardly
uh,
anybody understands me.
you know what? You just brought up a point, and we're out of time, but your point here is pretty wild in that when we talk about crystals and how powerful they are and what they harness, back in the day, you're going to remember this, there was a crystal radio. You would use a certain type of crystal and you could actually listen to radio. It was very low, you could barely hear. People would build these, I built them, little crystal radio. But that just goes to show how powerful crystals are. Just a little tiny crystal, no batteries. You didn't even have batteries. It
Mm.
would pick up the vibration of the radio signal from miles away. So I totally forgot about that. Wow.
That's how I pick up people when I do healings for them. I
Mm,
tune into their sound.
that's what I'm talking about.
And
Yeah.
that's how I work across and around the world.
Mm.
I think it's about time we have to close this up for today, though. I imagine both of us have to go check the laundry and see if that pot's going to boil over.
And we need batteries for
We need
our
batteries.
vehicles. How do we find you, Janice?
You know what? Recently, I lost the connection between my server and myself. The hackers did not get all of my addresses for the last 30 years. My website and everything fell on its sword, so I've lost all contact with the world. Just call me. Are you ready for this? I'm in
No.
Eastern time in the USA. I'm at 276-579-2883.
Gotcha. And by the way, good luck. Whistle into the phone. See if you get Janice.
Just whistle me up
Yep.
and let me help you find that fox in your hen house and get your back engines cleared.
Janice, always great talking with you. It really is.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.